and that includes both revenue being on the table and spending being on the table as well. So I said there are a number of folks in a bipartisan way on the Senate side who are addressing that issue. What we cannot do is to bring this nation to its knees, and my hope is that unlike when we were last year, when there were those on the other side of the aisle really said they didn't really care if we went off a fiscal cliff. I'm not making that up. You can go back and you can check. They say it really wouldn't make any difference. It will make a substantial difference if we cannot come to an agreement on sequestration. I believe that we can. Maybe you could characterize me as an optimist, but that is what I will be trying to do, as to where we can move forward, starting when we go back right after the election to address this issue. It's clearly the most important thing we have to cope with. I think we can manage to come to some sort of a conclusion and not go over that cliff.
I think that we have to put our financial house in order. Any elected official that is willing to let our country run off into the ditch for any ideological reason is not worthy of the office that they hold, no matter what side of the aisle they sit on. If I am in Congress, I will work to make sure that that doesn't happen. That's one of the reasons why I got into this race in the first place, is because I was worried about the inheritance or lack thereof that we're leaving for our children. Thank you.
One more question. Go ahead.
A huge portion of Americans today face the problem of their college debt. And it is equal almost to the consumer debt, and it strangles people who are looking for homes and to deal with their finances. College debt is not. You cannot get rid of it through bankruptcy, and it also impacts young people who would want to move to the middle class, getting
What is your question, please?
How would you help people currently face by college debt and young people who hope to get an education so they can pay for it in a reasonable way?
How would each candidate address the question of college debt?
A very, very serious issue, because I think that is now college debt surpasses credit card debt in the nation. I think you have to look at it from both perspectives. I think we have to work with our academic institutions at all levels about what is driving those costs up for them. Part of it is a lack of both either state dollars or federal dollars that are coming in, which have caused a problem. But I think that they need to take a hard look at what is driving up the costs for their students. On the other side of the student side, look, I'm a very, very big believer in helping students be able to go to college. My view is at all levels of education, whether it is preschool, whether it's K through 12, whether it is higher education. I might also add, and you know this, and I hope you don't mind my interjecting this, but the Romney Ryan budget cuts education across us 20%. 20%. At the higher education level, what is critical to understand is that that means for over 9 million students, their Pell Grant will be lowered by at least $1,000. That will cut off an opportunity for youngsters to go to school, make it more difficult to go to school. We need to try to assist people, and maybe there are some circumstances in which if you go into underserved areas of the nation and you help with services, whether it's community services, medical services, whatever it is, we can deal with what might be loan forgiveness. But I think this is a big issue for the future. We have tried, one of the reasons why we worked so hard last year to get that interest rate down from what was going up to 6.8% down to 3.4%, so kids could continue to go to school with those Stafford loans. We need to be front and center in how to make education at all levels the opportunity that it was meant to be in terms of that overall American dream. It is the great equalizer. You cannot succeed today without having a community college degree, a vocational college institution degree, or a four-year liberal arts college degree. We have to help parents with deduction. Imagine, wouldn't it be great if you could deduct, from your taxes, your education costs for your kids. These are the kinds of efforts you can look at through your tax code if you are shutting down in some other areas where people don't need a tax break. Families need that. So it's colleges, the tax code, what we can provide in both loans and grants to kids to further their education.
I have to say, Congresswoman, for someone who was a champion of bipartisan cooperation, you never miss an opportunity to point out that Republicans are evil. Seriously. Here's the thing. As someone who has spent part of my time speaking to students, telling them how to apply for Stafford loans and grants and Pell Grants and things like that, I have no interest at all in cutting out some of the things that I know that poor students, that is the only thing that they have in terms of being able to pay for college. To me, the bigger problem is that fewer of our college graduates are able to get jobs in their field of education to be able to pay off their student loans. They're living at home and in their parents' basement. So part of the problem is we have almost less of a student loan problem than, again, an employment problem. So by generating more private sector jobs, more of our students can come out of college, put their education to work, and pay off their student loans. Now, should we look at also at the other end of why college prices, college costs are increasing so dramatically? Absolutely. And if there's ways that the government can be instrumental in helping to maintain the affordability of higher education for more students, I'm all for it. But for me, the answer lies more in growing our economy, growing more jobs. And University of Connecticut released a study recently that says there has been virtually no job growth in Connecticut in a generation. That's a problem. And perhaps, it's time for some new ideas and some new thinking to bring some solutions where there haven't been. So, am I interested in removing some of the only lifelines for especially some of our poor students to access higher education? No. I'm more interested in making sure that they have a job to go to when they get out of school.
Unfortunately, we're out of time for this portion. I want to thank Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro and Wayne Winsley for participating. I want to thank the audience here. And at this time, I'm going to ask Mayor Scott Jackson to come up here. Unfortunately, as we know, Chris Murphy couldn't make it. And Scott Jackson was asked to be a surrogate. I'm also going to ask him to please address what preparations people should be making and what preparations the town of Hamden has made for the Hurricane Sandy. Mayor Jackson.
We could all be home right now, clearing our porches and decks and things like that, but this is important